Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. As you can see, this is going to be another video about the Range Rover to answer some of the questions you guys asked me on the last video I made about this, and to answer one in particular which was asked by quite a few of you, which was, did I really pay £5,000 to have this car serviced? So before I get into that, let me jump in the car because it is freezing. That's better. It is freezing cold outside. Yes, winter is coming. Anyway, let's get right into this. So, I made a video a couple of weeks ago. It was the 1 year anniversary since buying this car. And I was asked a question a few times by different people, which was, did I really pay £5,000 to have this car serviced? So let me not waste any time. Let's get right into this. Yes. Now, to explain further, let me break down exactly what was included. I think I've got it here. Yeah, I do. There's a draft. I had to write this down because the way it worked during COVID was you dropped the car off and then I went off to work, and later that morning I was phoned by Land Rover and they told me the bad news. So this was what they told me needed replacing. So some are small, some are big. The front wipers needed replacing, the rear wipers, brake fluid, front discs and pads, which was the most expensive part of the job. Those were £1,063.30p. The rear pads and discs needed replacing, the front lower arm bushes, the front arc bushes, the rear arc bushes. The car also needed an AdBlue top-up, 4-wheel alignment, and 4 new tyres. So, why did I take it to a main dealer? Now, it's a good question, and I certainly could have got the work done cheaper had I taken it to, say, an independent specialist. Now, I didn't have one local to me, but I did look into it, and I think the closest was around 45 minutes away. Now, I didn't take it to a main dealer because I didn't want to drive 45 minutes down the road. The main reason is because I wanted the assurance that the work would be done by a main dealer so that there was some accountability there. Because I had taken the car back to Land Rover a couple of times and complained about it pulling to the left, and each time we were given a slightly different reason as to what it could be. And in the end, of course, we discovered that it was actually to do with the bushes. But the reason I wanted that assurance was because I wanted the accountability. So if we had all this work done and then it continued to happen, I wanted to be able to go back and, you know, kick up a bit of a fuss. I also wanted to keep the history of the car all main dealer. With this car, I care more about that. With the other two, I don't really care. Neither cars have gone to Audi for a very long time, but with this, I just wanted to keep that consistency to try and retain a little bit of value. I know in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really make much of a difference depending on how long you keep the car. But I thought if we are going to replace this with maybe a facelift or another car in the Land Rover group, that maybe it would help a little. I don't know. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a shock to get that phone call and that list of things, and of course that price overall. But I went ahead and it was all done over the course of I think 2 to 3 days. Everything except the tyres, and the main reason I didn't do the tyres with Land Rover was because I wanted to check out the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 SUV tyres, mostly because they looked cool. I'd watched a couple of videos, I'd read a few reviews. I thought, yeah, they look cool. This car is possibly a little underpowered for the full performance those tyres can take, but actually they are great. Especially now, I'm starting to notice more of a difference as the roads are a bit wet and a bit slippery, and tomorrow I think we're getting snow and ice, etc. So it'll be very interesting to see how they handle that. But as an overall tyre, they are great, and they've also improved the road noise a little. Now that could be because the car actually came with 3 odd tyres. So it had 2 matching tyres, and then one on the front was a different brand and one on the rear was a different brand. So it was, yeah, you live and you learn, guys. But does that necessarily mean that you're going to have the same experience as I have? No, that not at all. I think, as I've said before, I think we just got a bit unlucky. I think we saw this car, we liked this car, we liked the colour of it and the spec of it, and possibly rushed into it without doing enough research. We didn't really know what to look for or what to check for when buying this car. We just wrongly assumed that because it was a Land Rover and because it was a Range Rover more specifically, that it would go through a kind of a real quality check. And, unfortunately it didn't, but that is just a bad egg. Touch wood, has been absolutely perfect now. It just needed a bit of TLC, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's still a great car overall. A few of you asked me if, would I recommend them? Absolutely, because I don't think as an all-round car you'll get anything better for this price point. Of course there are the X5, the Q7s, there's that Mercedes thing. I've driven an X5 and I've driven a Q7, and both are great cars in their own right, but there is something about a Range Rover. I think it's the driving position. You're a lot higher up. It's a lot nicer, a lot smoother. I just don't think you'll get a better car for the money. And it's such a great car to have alongside the other cars that I own, because the other cars are a bit brutal, a bit bumpy. They're a bit temperamental. They need a lot of TLC all of the time. Whereas this, now that we've had the work done, does exactly what it's intended for, which is to ferry children around. I'm joking. Which is to be, a bit of a medium between driving around B roads. This handles surprisingly well. That's one thing that I will say. When you flip it over into dynamic mode, it actually handles really nicely, and it's quick. Like there's a bit of lag. You put your foot down, you'll be waiting for 10 minutes, but once it gets going, it's really quick and nimble for the size of it. And then also it's good on roads like this, where we're a little bit kind of off-road, nothing too extreme, but enough where I wouldn't get down here and say my RS3. And then, of course, there is the family element of it as well, which is, carrying the children around, etc. It's just nice to have. Would I go to a main dealer again? I think I will, again, for the same reasons that I did initially. I'm not a big fan of just willingly blowing money, but at the same time, I want to try and be as sensible as I can be with this, considering it is our main car and the main family car at least, and the car that the children go in, etc. Now, I'm fully aware that the cost, of course, incorporates a pretty hefty portion of labour, which is them doing the work. And yeah, it is what it is. It's annoying, but again, if it needs doing, then it needs doing. But like I said, guys, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the same issues. What I would say is maybe just do a bit more research than I did. When you're looking at cars, just give them a check over, maybe ask to look at the history of the car. Is it main dealer history, etc.? And if it isn't, is it, properly recorded? Do you know exactly what's been done? And, maybe ask about things like the bushes, etc. Because subsequently, when I looked into it after the fact, I found that it's, an area of these cars that seems quite common at certain points, depending on how they're driven. Now, we don't know too much about the previous owner, of course, but I do think it's safe to assume that it's probably a farmer's car, and that might be why the bushes took a bit of a battering for a relatively low mileage car, because this was around 23-ish thousand, I think, when we bought it. So yeah, it took a bit of a beating, but yeah, just, do your research and just make sure that you're checking the car's history, etc. And I think you'll be okay. I was just unfortunate, but like I said, you live and you learn. So I'm going to wrap this video up now, guys. Let me know if you want to know a bit more about this car. Maybe I'll do a good old 5 things I love and hate about it. I can tell you one thing I hate immediately, which is that goddamn boot lid. The amount of times I've hit my head on that, and it's just like, it's a pain that is unlike any other. And I've been in a lot of pain. I know what it feels like, but every time I hit my head on that, it's bad. That's just my height, I think, and not paying attention. It's probably my own fault, but it's still annoying, and I'm still going to blame the car. But if you want to see a video where I talk a bit more in detail about what I do love and hate about this, then let me know. If you have any other questions, please just comment down below and I'll answer them. And also, yeah, let me know if you think I was a bit silly taking it to a main dealer. What would you do? And if you own one, is there anything else that maybe we should be thinking about? You know, any other components, etc., that are prone to going unexpectedly. My next video is going to be a continuation of my latest video, which will feature the S3 and will likely be the last time you see it for quite a while because, as I mentioned, it's going in for its respray. And then I need to make a separate video where we talk about the RS3 because, yeah, we need to have a chat about that car. And that's going to be it, I think. So let me know what you think of this video. Please do like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, all that good usual stuff. And before I ramble anymore and make even less sense, I hope you all have a great week. Peace.